Good morning, everybody. I'm Meteorologist Brandon Lawrence here at Local 5, and we're doing this live stream, which we do often to tell you about the incoming weather. But this one is all about what to expect tomorrow. So everything I'm going to talk about in this live stream is for Wednesday, December 15th. Today, Tuesday, is a quiet day with no real problems. We'll have some clouds. We'll be in the 50s, but overall, it's a quiet day. However, Wednesday will, quite frankly, not be quiet around our state. We've got a lot going on. There's sort of three big headlines for Wednesday. The first being high winds that we haven't seen in quite a while outside of thunderstorms, just regular plain old wind that will be extremely gusty. We will have a threat for severe storms by tomorrow evening. And then we will also have record warmth possible tomorrow. So there are three big headlines that go with our forecast on Wednesday. So what you see right here behind me is a high wind warning, which is not something that I've seen in several years. In fact, I believe the last high wind warning issued by the National Weather Service in Des Moines was back in 2016. Essentially, a high wind warning is for strong wind gusts that can't be covered by just your run-of-the-mill wind advisory that we might see very often. What we are expecting with this high wind warning tomorrow is gusts that could be higher than 60 or 65 miles per hour. And that is wind that's not even in thunderstorms. That's just regular plain old wind that will likely be very strong during the late afternoon and especially during the evening hours. I would not be surprised to see a wind gust that gets up to maybe 70 miles per hour. So technically that high wind warning is in effect from noon tomorrow through at the latest 3 a.m. on Thursday. It ends at different times for different counties, but generally 3 a.m. on Thursday. There will be sustained winds that are steady from 20 to 40 miles per hour, and the gusts will be even higher than that, 60 to 70 miles per hour at times. The strongest wind will be in the evening, and this is again outside of thunderstorms. We also have the thunderstorm potential. Those could produce strong winds, but we're talking strictly just wind at this point. This is what Futurecast shows for wind gusts, and I'll tell you, a few days ago when the weather team saw some of these numbers popping up, we were really surprised to see gusts this high being predicted, but there's been so much consistency here. And our gradients that we look for in the atmosphere will be very tight tomorrow, which is what creates a very windy pattern. Wind gusts around noon tomorrow could be between 45 and 50 miles per hour, and I do think it will just strengthen as the afternoon goes on. This is about 8 o'clock tomorrow evening where we could see gusts that are upwards of 50 miles per hour. It's possible some will get over 60 miles per hour, and I won't be surprised if a couple of those wind gusts get up to 70 miles per hour, and eventually that wind will start to die down, and it's going to be a slow process by midnight tomorrow night, but it really will stay pretty breezy through Thursday morning as our cold front comes in. So the wind is like the first major part about tomorrow. And I just put the gusts up here so that you can kind of get a view of them. By 6 p.m., we're looking at potentially a wind gust near 60 miles per hour, and it'll fluctuate through the evening, but I, again, won't be shocked if we see some that are over 60 miles per hour. So here's kind of what we can expect as a result of those winds. It sounds odd, but difficult travel. You know, when you drive down the highway, sometimes you feel the wind blowing your vehicle around. Tomorrow is absolutely one of those days. It'll be especially difficult for high-profile vehicles, really tall vehicles, semi-trucks, big cars or heavy cars. We could also see with this, and again, outside of storms, the possibility of power outages. We could see some tree and limb damage or debris, perhaps some roof debris or damage with some of the strongest gusts. And then, of course, issues with your holiday decorations that you have outside. If you've got Christmas stuff that is not tied down or really firmly secured, you want to take today to bring that in. And that goes not just for holiday decor, but for anything that you've got outside, patio furniture, if you've got plants or anything like that that you have outdoors, or just decorations of any kind, you don't want to leave them outside, especially if you intend on keeping them through the end of this week or through the future. So I don't mean to make a ton of light with this because it is really strong wind, but your inflatable Santas or snowmen, well, if you leave them outside and you leave them inflated, they may be halfway to Easter by the time we get past tomorrow. And not to mention, it's not just that they would tip over, but that wind could cause holes to get punctured in the inflatable, and then you can't even use it afterwards. So I would just recommend going outside and taking them down and taking all those precautions. You know about this a day in advance, so get all of this prep work done today, and hopefully you'll be a-okay for tomorrow. That is story headline number one, just the wind. We also have the severe weather threat, and I do see some comments here, so I promise I'll try to answer those as well. We've got the severe weather outlook for tomorrow that is currently at a level 2 in this area highlighted in yellow. I won't be surprised if that gets upgraded a little bit more, or maybe that level 2 gets expanded a little bit more. We should get another update later on today, and then certainly we'll get an update first thing tomorrow morning. This comes from the Storm Prediction Center. Everybody has the potential to see a strong or severe storm. However, that highest likelihood, that biggest area of concern, will be across northwestern and north central Iowa. So we definitely expect areas like Carroll, Boone, Ames, Fort Dodge, up towards Mason City, Algona, and anywhere in between need to be on alert for these possible storms. Our biggest threat, damaging winds. No surprise given all the wind that we've talked about already, but when you factor in the thunderstorms that come through, some of those could be capable of producing wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour. And although this may be on the extreme end, it is possible, not a guarantee, that a few of them could produce winds as high as 80 miles per hour. That, I hope, doesn't happen, but it is something that there are some signals that show that, just given how much wind shear we have in our atmosphere and how strong the wind is just above the surface tomorrow. We also have a lower risk threat for tornadoes. We may have low-topped supercells that develop, which is essentially supercell thunderstorms that have a really low cloud base. And so the formation of tornadoes in the line of storms that develops may be a little bit easier to achieve. I think the greatest risk for tornado development will be north and west of Des Moines, maybe through north central Iowa. This is also not a guarantee that tornadoes will develop. There are some question marks as to how much storm energy we will have. What we look for is called CAPE, convective available potential energy. There's not a ton of it tomorrow, but we have also looked at previous scenarios that have these similar type ingredients, and those were capable of, or did produce tornadoes rather. So we just have to watch that very closely and know that a tornado is a possibility. There's almost no risk for hail because we don't have a lot of energy and not a ton of heat, and flooding is not a concern here just because these storms are going to be moving so rapidly. The speed at which these storms travel could be 60 or 70 miles per hour. That's not the wind gust that I'm referring to. Literally from storms getting from point A to point B, that's how quickly they will move. So in some cases, the storms may only last 15, 30 minutes in a couple of places. When I've been watching the trends on radar and on our models looking at Des Moines, I don't think it's going to storm very long at all. But when it does roll through, it could pack a punch for that short period of time that it's here. Right now on our threat tracker, I have us at a level 2 as well. Taylor and Brad will be in today, and they'll be evaluating the situation, and they may choose to lift that to a level 3, or they may keep it at a level 2. It's just dependent on what they see. Severe weather will be possible in the evening. Again, our primary threat will be damaging wind gusts there, but we can't totally rule out a tornado or two. I do also want to stress, because I understand that memories are fresh and people have this concern. This is not the same setup as what just happened in the South. This is not the same scenario as what caused severe damage in Mayfield, Kentucky, or Bowling Green, Kentucky, or Monette, Arkansas, or even Edwardsville, Illinois. I will say that I can never totally predict what a storm will do. So we won't ever rule out damage from a storm, but I also don't want to give you this idea that this is the exact same setup and that we're going to see a repeat of that, because I really don't think we will. This is also not the derecho. I know when you hear high winds and you see a high wind warning, you think, oh my gosh, here we go again. It's a different type of scenario. Remember, the derecho produced wind gusts of 140 miles per hour in Cedar Rapids. I see nothing right now that indicates anything quite of that magnitude tomorrow. Doesn't mean this won't be intense, and it doesn't mean it won't be tricky to navigate through, but I just don't think it'll be those same things. So here's a general rough timeline of when storms will arrive. We're still working to nail down the exact timing because we, of course, have some discrepancy in our models, exactly what time that line arrives. I would say the general time frame for our area is 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Wednesday. I think the line will get going in the late afternoon across western Iowa. It'll be in the central tier of the state by early evening, right around early dinner time and early evening, and then it'll be later in the evening for areas to the east. Again, we don't know exactly when the storm will arrive in what town, whether it's 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or 5:30, but we know that generally 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. is that time frame for the strong storms. So let's walk through Futurecast. I've talked a lot here, and I hope I'm giving everybody valuable information. Today is totally quiet. As I said, I'm not really focusing on today's weather at all. There might be a few sprinkles in eastern Iowa overnight. Maybe in the Des Moines metro we see a little drizzle early tomorrow morning, but I don't think it'll be anything significant. Then we will see a relatively dry day tomorrow. Of course, we also have the wind. And then here's the timing of this. This model, as I see the new update right now as I'm talking with you, it is a little bit faster as well. That actually coincides with what some of our other models have been showing, so I'm actually happy to see that there's a little more agreement. Generally, that 4 to 8 p.m. time frame, what you're looking at here is 5:30 p.m., where we may already have that line developing, and where it arcs out a little bit. Sometimes we refer to that as bowing in the line. That is where we could see some really strong winds. Right now, my biggest concern for a spin-up tornado would be, I'll say north of I-80, but realistically, I think north of Highway 30 is where the greatest concern with that would be, because we may get supercell thunderstorms that develop up in this area and more of a line as it goes farther into southern Iowa. Doesn't mean we wouldn't see strong winds along the line. Doesn't mean if we don't get, or if we get that bowing segment, that there can't be a spin-up tornado. But I think the highest risk of that will be to our north. Then by 7, 8 o'clock, it'll be east of I-35 already. So it's very quick moving. That's how fast this line is. Like I said, the plus side of that is how quickly it's over. But the downside is it's also less time to prepare. When we see storms developing west of Des Moines, we don't get a ton of lead time when they're moving 60 to 70 miles per hour. So we have that line east of I-35, and essentially by that point, the risk for severe weather, once that line moves through, the risk for severe weather in your area will be over. The wind may not die down, and then cooler air will start to spill in. Models have also been painting a picture, and to tell you the truth, we haven't really focused on this at all, that there might be some snow wrapping around in far northwest Iowa. This is largely outside of our area, which is why you probably haven't heard us say much, if anything, about that. And we don't even know that there will be. It kind of depends on how that low moves out of the state and lifts up into Minnesota quickly. But Sioux City, areas in far northwest Iowa may get a tiny bit of snow on the back end of this tomorrow night. And then it'll be quieter heading into Thursday, still breezy. All right, I hope you're still with me. I hope you're not too bored. I hope I've given you a lot of good, valid information. Let me see if there's any questions here. James said, we've put everything that was outside on the back deck away ever since the derecho. I feel the need to go into disaster mode. And I understand that. And I don't want, like I said, I don't want everybody to be scared and nervous about tomorrow. It is a concerning trend when we see those wind gusts getting that high. But I don't think it's reason to be scared. I think if we're prepared and ready to rock and ready to roll, if you take those precautions and get yourself, prepped by bringing stuff in, I think that's a really good call. Linda said, kids are coming from South Dakota to Ames tomorrow, leaving at 2 p.m. Should I tell them to stay home? Well, Linda, if you're still watching, I don't usually like to tell people what to do because I think you and your family can make the best decision for you. I will tell you that driving may not be the most pleasant experience from South Dakota to Ames given the high wind. I think the severe weather threat will be over in Ames at the latest, probably 8, 9 o'clock. So if they were planning to get there later in the evening, they might be okay on that front. Sort of depends on how quickly they're driving. But that's a call for you to make. Maybe they wait till Thursday. Thursday is going to be a lot quieter. I know that's not the most ideal when you're looking forward to family. Let's see. Oh, kids coming from South Dakota, 90 to 35. So coming across through southern Minnesota down. Yeah, I don't know that I would be doing that in the afternoon and evening. If there was an option to come earlier in the day, that might be better, or maybe hold off until Thursday morning just to be safe given the timeline of storms. So let me tell you a little bit about this extreme warmth that we're also going to see. This is where we could see temperatures that are 35 or 40 degrees above average. This map, when I pulled it up this morning, it's bright red. Looks like something we would pull up on a map in July or August. But no, we are in the middle of December. We are expecting highs to be in the low 70s tomorrow. A couple of spots may come up shy of 70, but they'll be right about 68, 69. That again is 35 to 40 degrees above where we should be. The average high in Des Moines for tomorrow is only 36. The average high in Fort Dodge is 31. So this is a whole different season, a whole different kind of world that we will be in during the day tomorrow. And just because you've watched this far, I'll show you that 10-day forecast. It's going to come quickly back to reality. Once we get this storm system rolling through, the cold front will come in rapidly. There will be a sharp drop in temperatures tomorrow night. So we hit 70s tomorrow afternoon, and then by the time you wake up on Thursday morning, it'll be in the 20s and low 30s. That's not that cold for December, but after 70s, it'll feel cold and it'll be windy. The high on Thursday, 44, and then the rest of the week and weekend look much more like what you would expect from December. Actually, believe it or not, some of those temperatures are still slightly above average, but we're not going to split hairs here. 30s and 40s are much more reasonable for the month of December. So with that, I hope that I have answered some questions, given you some ideas about tomorrow. Like I said, I want to stress to you that just because we are talking about a threat for severe weather doesn't guarantee that severe weather will materialize. I sure hope it doesn't. This is one of those scenarios where I'd like to be wrong on that front. However, I do realistically think that there will be some severe storms. It's not a setup we typically, I don't even know if the word typical is there. It's not a setup that we ever see in December. And so we want you to be prepared for it. We want you to follow along with our weather team, because we will be here not just through today, but all through the day tomorrow, keeping you up to date. We've already been talking a lot about how our team can keep you and your family safe tomorrow evening, and I think we have a really good plan in place. So I hope you'll choose to continue getting your weather information from us. Please take a moment to grab your phone, do the free We Are Iowa app. It's in the App Store and Google Play Store. There's no cost for it. It's called We Are Iowa, and it will send you alerts to your phone about severe weather or wind alerts if they get issued in your area. So if there's a severe thunderstorm warning tomorrow or a tornado warning tomorrow, you would know about that first because you would have it set to your zip code. So download that. All of our weather information is there. And of course, we will keep you up to date through the next several days. Enjoy the quieter weather today, because tomorrow is going to be a very interesting one, to say the least. I'll look one more time and see if there's any questions or comments. I think we're good. If you have any other questions, find me on Facebook, shoot me a message, send us an email, and we'll try to get you covered there. Have a safe day. Have a safe day tomorrow, and we will continue to update you. See you today at Local 5 News Midday. Taylor Canusta will be there with a full breakdown of what to expect.